Discover the incredible moment a street girl turned a billionaire's life around with her touching spirit. Megan awoke to the bitter cold of Chicago's dawn, snuggled in a tattered sleeping bag behind a row of trash bins. The alley smelled of yesterday's meals and morning coffee, but her spirit remained unscathed. She stretched and smiled, embracing a world that often forgot about her. Each day was about survival, yes, but it was also about keeping her dreams alive. She longed for a family, a warm home, and loved things she had only read about in tattered books. Her days were filled with interactions, weaving through the busy streets, greeting strangers with a cheerful smile. "Good morning," she'd say, her voice a bright note amidst the honks of traffic. People often brushed past her, hidden behind their phones or heavy thoughts. But to those who paused, her laughter resonated like a melody. Megan's spirit acted like a lighthouse guiding lost ships. She turned frowns into smiles, like magic in the air. One chilly morning, as she played with a discarded rubber band, fate brought her across the path of Henry, a 45-year-old billionaire trapped in an office high above the chaos of the streets. He was burdened by endless meetings, calculating profits, and resisting the gnawing feeling of isolation. He left his sleek high-rise building, rushing to another cutthroat appointment, when, on a whim, he took a shortcut through the alley. As he stepped into the dim light, Megan's bright demeanor struck him. She perched on the edge of a metal dumpster, fiddling with a dusty toy. He barely knew how to react, something about her drew him in. She looked up and melted his hardened facade with a dazzling smile. "Hey, mister. You from up there?" she teased, pointing at the towering skyline. He chuckled, taken aback by her boldness. "Yeah, I guess I am. What's it like being a giant?" Megan's eyes twinkled with curiosity. Beneath her innocent banter, Henry felt a twinge in his chest, as if she had pierced his defenses with her laugh. Their conversation unfolded awkwardly, like a first date gone wrong. He asked about her life. She shared snippets of her days spent scavenging and dreaming. The more they spoke, the clearer the divide was, his world of wealth and hers of survival. Yet, her resilience was profound, stirring something deep within him. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the alley's dirt and debris, he found himself captivated by this girl who wore hope like a badge. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue, but just as he began to feel a spark of connection, reality slammed back. They were from different worlds, each loaded with burdens. Have you ever noticed how quickly ambition can drown out hope? For Henry, it was suffocating. Megan, though, saw light in every crack of pavement, and for a brief moment, he did too. With every word exchanged, something shifted. A fragile but undeniable bond began to form. As they parted, both felt the weight of their worlds. Would their paths ever truly cross again? Could compassion bridge the gap, or would wealth and reputation ultimately tear them apart? The city buzzed around them, oblivious, as Megan slipped back into her daydreams and Henry climbed into his lonely high-rise office. Megan spent the next few days replaying her encounter with Henry in her mind. Each time, she smiled wider, her heart fluttering with possibilities. While most days, the city felt like a harsh, concrete jungle, his presence turned it into a colorful tapestry of dreams. She caught glimpses of his face in the reflection of shop windows as she wandered, and she wondered what he was thinking about her. Did he remember her laughter? Did he feel that spark too? But reality tugged at her. Each day weighed heavy with hunger and the struggle to find shelter. She moved through the streets with her usual cheer, but some days the weight was too much. Crowds rushed past, their faces a blur. On the fifth morning since their meeting, Megan decided to return to the alley where they first met. It had become a part of her daily rhythm. She thought, maybe, just maybe, he would wander through again. She leaned against the cold metal dumpster and pulled out her rubber band, stretching it in her fingers. Suddenly, hope surged through her veins. What if he came? What if he felt compelled to seek her out? Hours passed while she played with the rubber band, her mind swirling. Just when she was starting to think it was a foolish dream, she heard footsteps. Her heart raced as she turned to see Henry stepping into the alley, looking a bit lost. "Megan!" he exclaimed, his surprise spilling into a wide grin. "I just had to find you again." "Hi." She beamed, hardly able to contain her excitement. "You really came back. I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation." "You have this way of looking at life that gives me hope," he admitted, his eyes softening. Megan felt a warmth spread through her. "And you have a pretty big life up there." She gestured towards the skyscrapers beyond them. "I know," he chuckled, "but sometimes it feels empty, you know. Like I'm just going through the motions." They settled into conversation, the air around them growing lighter. For hours, they shared laughter and stories. Henry learned about her dreams of a family, while she learned about the burdens of endless meetings and hollow interactions. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a golden glow, Megan noticed the change in Henry. The heaviness in his eyes seemed to lift, replaced with an openness that hadn't been there before. Noticing, she asked, "What do you want most in the world, Henry?" He hesitated, the question anchoring him. "Honestly? To feel connected to something real meaningful." For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken truths. Megan's heart ached for him. Despite their differences, this moment felt precious, a genuine connection amidst the chaos of their lives. "Megan!" A voice shattered their moment. It was a group of teenagers from her neighborhood, shouting and laughing. They were heading towards the convenience store nearby. "Hey!" she called back, waving. The moment felt sliced in two, the joy and warmth replaced with the weight of her reality once again. Turning back to Henry, her heart sank as he prepared to leave. I have to go. I'm late for a meeting," he said, guilt etching his brow. "Wait. Before you go, can I ask for something?" She hesitated, unsure how to voice her hopes. "Anything," he promised with sincerity. "Just don't forget me, okay?" His eyes held hers, and for that brief moment, a silent promise passed between them, forging a bond that neither could fully grasp but both felt profoundly. As Henry stepped away, Megan watched, a mix of hope and uncertainty swirling within her. Would he remember? Would their paths cross again? Would their unlikely friendship grow, or would it dissolve like an echo in the bustling city? The city buzzed around her as she stood there, lost in thought, when she spotted a familiar figure approaching down the alleyway. Her breath caught in her throat. Was it Henry returning, or someone new altogether? Megan squinted, her heart racing as the figure drew closer. It was him. Henry was back, a bit more hastily dressed than before, the heaviness of his work outfit replaced by a more casual look. His shirt was untucked, and he looked like he had escaped from a meeting rather than the office. "Megan!" he called again, a sense of urgency in his voice. She pushed away a wave of doubt. This wasn't just any return. "What happened?" "I thought you had to go," she said, trying to mask her surprise. "I couldn't shake the feeling," he panted, glancing around as if he had to ensure no one noticed him here. "I kept thinking about what you said, and I realized I want to try something different." Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Different?" "I want to help. I want to understand life outside the office walls. I don't want to just talk about connection, I want to feel it." His eyes shone with a determination that took her breath away. Megan took a deep breath, emotions swirling. Could he really mean it? A warmth spread within her, igniting the tiny flicker of hope. "You want to help me?" she asked softly, incredulity lacing her tone. "More than help," he said earnestly. "I want to experience it. Show me what it's like in your world." Let us see the city through your eyes. Her heart thudded loudly, the thought both thrilling and terrifying. But what about your life? Your job? It can wait, he said, shrugging. What's the point of climbing the ladder if I'm just going to keep staring at the rungs? For a moment, silence hung between them, the bustling city a distant hum. It felt like crossing a river on a fragile bridge. Her heart trembled with the enormity of it all. You don't have to do this, she said. You could easily go back to your life. And miss out on this? He gestured around them, his face lighting up with excitement. I want to meet people like you. See the stories behind the faces that pass me every day. I want to live. The street felt alive as she absorbed his words. Could they actually walk together in the city? She nodded, her smile returning, a gentle ripple of joy echoing within. Okay, let us go. But I have to warn you. It's not easy. I'm ready for anything. He grinned, relief etched in his features. They turned to leave the alley together, the sunlight bursting through the buildings, illuminating a world that had once felt heavy with shadows. Megan led him through her patch of the city, the park where she'd sometimes find scraps of food, the corner store where an elderly man always offered a kind smile, the bustling market filled with flavors and laughter. The experience felt liberating, but more so, it was a chance to share, to forge a bond that transcended their difficult realities. As they navigated the streets, Henry's presence drew some glances. Curious looks peeked from passers-by, and Megan fought back the urge to shy away. This was her world. And now, it was his too. Do they look at you like that often? He asked, nodding at a group who watched them walk by. Sometimes, she admitted. But it's mostly just curiosity. I suppose I'm a curiosity too, right? He laughed, glancing down at himself. But there was a hint of something deeper in his voice, maybe an awareness of the disparities between them. Yes, you are, she teased, trying to lighten the moment. But maybe you'll learn something today that will change how you see everything. As they wandered through the bustling streets, Henry's laughter began to mingle with hers, filled with hope yet woven with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Then, out of nowhere, a loud crash erupted nearby, startling them both, shattering the lightness of their adventures. What was that? Henry asked, his eyes wide with sudden concern. Megan's heart dropped as she recognized the sound of struggle. The unease settled in her stomach as they turned toward the commotion. Stay close, she whispered, as a tense pulse of adrenaline surged within her. What would they find? What was unfolding right before their eyes, away from the safe spaces they had shared moments ago? The thrill of new beginnings was quickly shadowed by danger. And Megan clutched Henry's arm as they stepped forward together, bracing for whatever awaited them. Megan's heart raced as they pushed through the crowd, drawn toward the chaotic noise. People were gathering, some stepping back, others reaching for their phones. The air crackled with tension, and she could feel Henry's hand tightening on her arm, his eyes searching for answers. What's happening? His voice was low, almost drowned out by shouts from the growing crowd. Just stay close, she urged, trying to keep her own fear at bay. She was used to the unpredictable nature of the streets, but Henry was still new to it. His safety felt like a fragile thing, and she couldn't let anything happen to him. They rounded a corner, and the scene unfolded. A few men were arguing, their voices raised, fists clenching in threat. An overturned cart lay scattered on the pavement, fruits rolling away like tokens from a game gone wrong. Look! Henry pointed, as a woman crumpled to the ground, her face pale. It was clear she had gotten involved, trying to defuse the situation. We should help. Megan's instincts screamed at her. Henry, no. She glanced at the aggressive men. It's not safe. We can't just rush in. But Henry was already moving, stepping toward the commotion. I can't just stand by. That's not right. He looked back at Megan, determination lighting his features. He was different now beyond the polished suit and the scheduled meetings. This was the essence of what he sought, connection, action. But Megan felt a wave of dread wash over her. "Henry!" she yelled, her voice rising above the chaos. "Be careful." Before she could reach him, he was almost at the woman, crouching beside her. The thrumming of the city faded to a low hum, drowned out by the battle in her heart. Part of her wanted to grab him and pull him back, but another part wanted to let him shine in this moment. Could they truly change something today? "Are you okay?" Henry asked the woman softly, his voice blending with the shock of the scene. He extended his hand, trembling slightly, but genuine. Megan held her breath, praying he wasn't crossing a line he wouldn't know how to step back from. I'm fine," the woman gasped, drawing in deep breaths to steady her. He was just her words caught in her throat as she gestured toward the ongoing aggression. Megan watched as Henry turned back to the men, eyes fierce. "This isn't worth it. You're better than this." The men hesitated, caught off guard by this unexpected plea. There was a flicker of uncertainty before one of them spat a retort. "Stay out of it, Suit. You don't belong here." "No, he's right." Megan stepped forward, clutching Henry's arm, feeling a rush of heat and fear. "You don't have to be like this. Just take a step back." The tension in the air thickened like fog. She felt a ripple of fear coursing through her. Was she doing the right thing? Did she have the right to stand up? Henry turned to her, and in that shared glance, she found a flicker of reassurance, the kind that told her they were a team, standing together against a tide of hostility. Then, unexpectedly, something shifted. One of the men sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You guys don't know what it's like, okay? What's the point of talking?" His voice trembled slightly. In that moment, Megan saw vulnerability crack the hardened exterior. Was a connection beginning? Henry stepped closer, unfazed. "Tell us, then. What is going on? We might help." Megan's heart pounded faster as she held her breath, an unsteady hope blooming. Could they bridge the gap between worlds? Just when she thought a breakthrough was possible, a loud siren pierced through the air, cutting into the fragile moment. The men exchanged glances, and panic rushed in. "Let us go!" One shouted, grabbing another by the arm as they began to retreat, disappearing into the gathering crowd, leaving chaos behind them. "Wait!" Henry called after them, but they were already gone. He turned back to Megan, their shared moment hanging like a promise unfulfilled. "That was intense," he said, breathing hard, eyes wide with adrenaline. "Did we really just do that?" Megan nodded, but her pulse was quickened with uncertainty. What? Had they really changed? The atmosphere felt heavy with questions left unasked. "Maybe we did. Maybe," she hesitated, searching his eyes with a worried smile. "But there's still so much to unravel." A shadow of doubt crossed Henry's face as he surveyed the empty space where the men had stood. Just then, the woman began to stand, a newfound strength in her posture. "Thank you," she said, her voice tremulous but firm. "You really did something important." Megan blinked in surprise. Perhaps it was true. Maybe small actions mattered more than they thought. But her heart ached, realizing it was only a small step. "Let us keep moving," she said, a blend of hope and uncertainty swelling within her. This was just the first challenge, there's more to face. As they turned to leave, Megan couldn't shake the feeling that the echo of the incident would linger just as long as the tension between them. What might this day lead them, good or bad? Their journey had only just begun, and she wondered, what path lay ahead, waiting to be revealed. Megan led the way through the narrowing streets, but her mind was still replaying the chaos they had just escaped. The hustle and bustle around them felt like a warped echo of what had just occurred, a mix of hurried footsteps, distant laughter, and the faint scent of street food wafting in the air. "Are you okay?" she asked Henry, glancing back at him. The determination that had ignited in him moments ago was now tempered by confusion. She could see the wheels turning in his mind. Yeah, he replied slowly, but she could tell he was still shaken. I didn't expect it to get so out of hand. I wanted to help. Megan felt a swell of pride for him, tinged with worry. You did help. We both did. Even if it didn't end how we hoped. But Henry shook his head. But it could have been worse. What if they turned on you? On us? I know, she said, her voice quiet but steady. But sometimes you have to take those risks. Change doesn't happen without a little push. Seeing his furrowed brow, she wished she could ease his worries. The world they had just interacted with was rough, unpredictable, but it was also vibrant. It was alive. It was home. They stepped into a small cafe, the comforting aroma of brewed coffee washing over them like a warm blanket. Despite the chaos outside, this place felt like a beacon of calm. As they slid into a booth, her heart raced with the thrill of the unknown path they had started to walk together. Megan watched as Henry stirred his coffee, deep in thought. His eyes roamed over the people bustling in and out, the chatter growing loud around them. He looked lost in a storm, battling the emotions from earlier. What are you thinking about? She asked gently. About how I want to do more. I don't want to just be an observer in life, you know. He looked up, intensity radiating from him. But why do I feel so powerless? What can I really do to make a difference? Sometimes it's the small things that keep the tide from washing us away, she replied, casting a glance at an older man at the counter, struggling to fit coins into a parking meter. You see him? Maybe he needs help. Sometimes, giving a hand, just acknowledging someone is enough to change their day. His gaze followed hers, softening as he saw the man wrestling with his change. I guess it's easy to forget how impactful we can be. Exactly, Megan said, hoping to spark a flame in him. It's about seeing the moments, being present. I know it's not always clear or simple, but even a moment of kindness. Before she could finish, the doors to the cafe swung open, and a gust of wind rushed in, carrying with it a commotion. A group of teenagers spilled inside, their laughter dimming the surrounding noise. In the midst of the group was a familiar face, a girl Megan knew from the neighborhood. Hey! Megan! The girl called, her voice ringing with familiarity. Megan smiled, instantly buoyed by the connection. Hey, Alia! Henry stiffened slightly at the sudden intrusion, his attention shifting between the two. What are you doing here? Alia asked, approaching their table with an easy confidence. You with him? She glanced at Henry, quirking an eyebrow. Yeah. This is Henry, Megan introduced him, sensing the slight tension in the air as Alia scrutinized him. Nice to meet you, Henry said, forcing a smile. Alia didn't seem convinced, and her piercing gaze traveled between them. You two looked pretty intense back there. Everything okay? Megan hesitated, weighing whether to share the day's chaotic events. We just had a bit of a moment earlier, nothing too serious. Aha. You've always got a way of finding trouble, Alia teased lightly, but Megan could sense the underlying concern. More like I found trouble, Henry interjected, surprising both of them. But it was also a chance to understand something bigger. Alia raised an eyebrow. Like what? Megan felt a surge of excitement. Henry was just saying how he wants to make a difference in a real way. Maybe you can help. Alia folded her arms, eyeing Henry with curiosity. All right. You want to make a difference? You've got to connect with people here and now. Are you ready for that? Henry looked at Megan, his eyes flickering with uncertainty before locking onto Alia's fierce determination. Yeah, I think I am. But I need to understand how I can really do it. Megan felt a wave of hope wash over her as she leaned in, her heart pounding at the possibilities unspooling before them. This could be the turning point. Let us start with small steps, Alia said, her voice steady. You already did that today. Just wait until you see what's next. As the word settled, a pulse of anticipation surged through Megan. She had no idea what exactly lay ahead, but deep down, she sensed the potential for something transformative. "Are you ready for the next challenge?" Alia asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Henry nodded slowly, determination settling back onto his shoulders. "I think I am." Megan smiled, her heart full. But in the back of her mind, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were only scratching the surface of what lay ahead. What surprises and challenges awaited them just around the corner? Megan felt a warm rush of confidence as Alia leaned back, her expression shifting from suspicion to intrigue. The tension in the air lightened slightly, replaced by the promise of newfound possibilities. For Henry, this was a moment filled with urgency, each second stretching as he contemplated what lay beyond the horizon of ordinary life. "Let us go grab some food after this," Alia said, breaking through the silence that seemed to linger. "I know a place that serves the best tacos. Trust me." Henry's eyes brightened. "Tacos? Sounds great." Megan laughed, thrilled to see him diverting his focus from the weight of earlier events. "You can never go wrong with street tacos," she agreed. "Good, 'cause I've got some questions about how you plan on making a difference," Alia said, pointing a finger at Henry, a playful yet serious look on her face. "You can't just waltz in here like you're going to save the world without a plan." Henry smiled, his confidence building. "Fair enough. I'm all ears." They spent a few moments exchanging ideas over coffee. Alia's energy crackled with excitement, recounting her own experiences in the neighborhood and the change she had seen in others through simple gestures like passing out blankets to the homeless or organizing food drives. Megan listened intently, feeling the narrative of activism unfolding around her, not just for Henry but for herself as well. "You've got to remember, first and foremost, that everything you do matters," Alia advised, leaning forward earnestly. "Even the smallest acts can create a ripple effect. They can inspire others to do their part too." Henry took it all in, absorbing the wisdom radiating from both the girls. "I mean, how do I even start?" "Start right here, right now," Alia replied with a smile. "Look around. There are people who could use a hand. Help them. Get involved. And don't overlook your own feelings, because emotions drive change." Inspired, Megan looked out the cafe window at the lively street scene unfolding before them. Was that a man in need of help loading groceries into a car? She squeezed her hands together, excitement coursing through her veins. The thrill of possibility was intoxicating. "Okay, but what about long-term?" Henry pressed. "I want to commit to something sustainable. I don't want this to be a one-off thing." "Great point," Alia exclaimed. "You may want to connect with local organizations or volunteer. But remember, friendships you build along the way matter just as much. Sometimes it's about knowing someone who knows someone who can help you make a change on a larger scale." Megan felt a thrill at the thought of expanding their circle, bringing new people into their lives, and maybe even discovering new ways to impact their community. "Let us do this, then. Let us find an organization," Henry urged, a palpable energy lighting up his face. "Maybe we could start something ourselves, like a food drive or a community cleanup." Alia smiled wide, obviously impressed by his enthusiasm. "Now you're speaking my language. Community work could lead to real connections, people who feel empowered and inspired to act. It all begins with people coming together." As they plotted their next steps, the cafe's ambience buzzed with the comforting hum of familiarity. The world felt more open, like a canvas ready to be painted with their intentions. Megan glanced at Henry and felt her heart swell. This was just the beginning, and she knew, somehow, that they would be part of something bigger. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from outside, jolting them back to the present. The cacophony of shouts mixed with the sounds of tires screeching and metal clanging echoed through the cafe. Megan's stomach churned as she shot a glance at Alia, who instantly caught the undercurrent of distress. "What was that?" Henry's voice was low, threaded with concern. Let us check it out, Alia said, rising with determination. Megan wavered, a knot tightening in her chest. What if this wasn't just another moment of chaos? A sense of urgency gripped her. They had just made a decision to help, and now they were being faced with something new and unexpected. What if this was the chance to put their words into action? Come on, let us go. Alia urged, already stepping toward the door. Megan found herself following, heart pounding, ready to answer the call of a city that often felt unyielding, yet was bursting with possibility. As they rushed outside, the gravity of that moment settled around them. What if this was the moment they had been waiting for? The street outside the cafe was in chaos. A silver sedan was crumpled against a lamppost, steam hissing from its hood like a wounded beast. People clustered, some pulling out phones to document the scene, others rushing towards the wreckage. Megan's heart raced as she scanned the crowd. Alia moved purposefully, weaving through the onlookers, and Henry kept pace beside her. Is anyone hurt? He called out, his eyes darting to the car. Someone's inside. A tall man shouted, pointing at the twisted metal. His voice was hoarse with urgency. We need to call for help. Megan felt a surge of adrenaline. They had talked about making a difference, was this not what they had envisioned? Yet, self-doubt tugged at her. She had never been in a situation like this before. What if she froze? What do we do? She asked, her voice tremulous. Stay calm, Alia replied, her tone steady. Let us see if we can help. With that, Alia rushed closer to the car. Megan hesitated, then followed Henry, who was already stepping towards the vehicle. He knelt beside the driver's window, peering in. Can you hear me? He shouted, trying to make contact with the person inside. There was a moment of silence before a pained moan pierced through the noise. She's alive. Henry exclaimed, his eyes wide with relief. Henry, we need to get her out. Alia's voice was firm. But we must be careful. We don't want to make things worse. Megan felt a rush of emotion, a mix of fear and hope. She moved closer, adrenaline coursing through her veins. What can we do? She asked. Someone call 911. Alia shouted louder, her hands on the side of the car for support. The rest of us can block the road. We don't want more accidents happening. Megan fumbled for her phone and dialed, but her hands shook too much. I can't get through. She felt tears prick her eyes. Why was she so scared? Just breathe. Alia turned to her, unwavering. You can do this. Just get a grip. Megan took a deep breath, feeling the fiery determination that had sparked earlier. Okay. She steadied her voice as she dialed again, holding her breath until the operator answered. There was a cacophony of voices, a mix of sirens approaching and distant shouts from passers-by who had turned their attention to the situation. Stay still. Help is coming. Henry called to the driver, his eyes focused. He looked at Alia, gauging her reaction before turning back to the wreck. We need to try to keep her calm. Megan hung up, swallowing hard. Help is on the way. As they encouraged the driver to hang on, a quiet filled the space between them, punctuated by the sounds of distant sirens. Megan felt a connection, a shared urgency intertwined with compassion. She was scared, but also exhilarated. This was it. Minutes felt like hours, but soon a fire truck appeared, lights flashing, sirens wailing. Rescue workers sprang into action, and Alia stepped back, her hands raised in the air. Henry stayed close, his concerned eyes on the driver as the responders assessed the situation. In that moment, Megan felt a shift. They hadn't just talked about helping, they had jumped in with both feet. Maybe this was the moment they needed to catalyze their journey into changing the world. Suddenly, the driver's face appeared, twisted in pain but alive. Their eyes met briefly, and something sparked a connection that transcended the chaos around them. What will happen next? Megan thought, heart racing as the first responders began to cut away the wreckage. But before she could voice it, the world seemed to shift again. Why is this happening now? A voice called out from the crowd, panic rising that I and the mix of emotions. Megan wondered would they be able to help this woman retrieve hope from despair. What awaited them on this chaotic path of change? Megan watched as the firemen worked with urgency and precision, their tools glinting against the fading afternoon sun. Each slice of metal sounded like a thunderstorm rolling through her mind, distracting, yet oddly thrilling. She was still on the edge of the crowd, heart pounding as adrenaline surged through her veins. The driver, though battered and trapped, still had a flicker of hope in her eyes. The connection between them sparked like a live wire. Just hold on. Henry shouted again, his voice steady. Megan could see the determination in his face, but a shadow of doubt lingered there too. They were all feeling it. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, but she wanted to be brave, to step up. Do you think she'll be okay? She asked Alia, her voice barely above a whisper, hoping for reassurance. She'll be fine, Alia replied, though her tone lacked the conviction Megan desperately sought. The first responders know what they're doing. They'll get her out. Yet, Megan couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness. What if it's too late? No. We can't think like that, Alia snapped, her patience wearing thin but her eyes sparkling with a fierce light. She needs us to stay positive. Just watch. Megan focused on the driver, she wanted to transmit courage through her gaze. If she could reach out, maybe that connection would tether the woman to life and pull her back from the brink. She held the driver's stare and noticed a flicker of acknowledgement. Moments passed, and the crew continued to assess the wreckage, shifting debris aside. Then, just as the faint sound of sirens faded into the background, they finally used the jaws of life to crack open the door, revealing the trapped woman in full. The breathless crowd, once roiling with anxiety, fell into a hush as the crew worked tirelessly, easing the woman out as gently as possible. Megan's hands tightened into fists, and she willed herself not to look away. Come on, you can do this, she whispered to herself, willing strength into that fragile body. Finally, they were able to pull the woman free, carefully placing her on a stretcher. The driver's face was pale, but the fireman adjusted the blanket over her, and she offered a weak smile. The rescue team kicked into high gear, wheels spinning and voices directing. An ambulance arrived, and just like that, the connection felt like it might dissolve. Would this be the last time she would ever see that woman? As the paramedics loaded her onto the gurney, the driver caught Megan's gaze again. There was recognition in those eyes, a silent thank you that resonated within Megan's soul. And just like that the moment expanded, drifting away from mere chaos into something much deeper. Is she going to be okay? Henry breathed, taking a giant step closer to the gurney. She is stable. We're doing everything we can, a paramedic replied, looking both exhausted and relieved. As the ambulance doors slammed shut, the crowd began to disperse, murmurs of awe and gratitude floating in the air. And there it was, a shift in Megan. A realization that helping others brought meaning even in the most harrowing moments. But as she turned to share this revelation with Alia, she was caught off guard by the swift change in her friend's expression. Alia's eyes widened, and she reached for Megan's arm. What she started, but a sudden commotion from the sidelines interrupted her. What happened? Megan asked, feeling the tension rise in Alia's grip. That's just it. We have to go help. Alia fervently pointed to a small gathering of people, another emergency building in the distance. Megan's breath caught in her throat. They had just faced one crisis, and now another was brewing. Could they really make an impact this time, too? Will they need us? She blurted, her fight-or-flight instinct scrambling again. Absolutely. Alia's eyes shone with urgency as she nodded emphatically. Megan felt the pull of destiny. Was it really happening? Before she knew it, they were breaking into a sprint toward the unfolding scene, each heartbeat echoing the call to action. The real journey was just beginning, and they hadn't even scratched the surface of change yet. What awaited them next in their desperate attempt to make a difference? Megan and Alia ran through the parking lot, their feet pounding against the asphalt, urgency propelling them forward. As they approached the small gathering, a sense of urgency intensified in the air. The crowd was thick with anxious murmurs and gasps, and Megan's heart raced. She could barely keep pace with her thoughts. What kind of disaster was unfolding? Was anyone hurt? They broke through the outer edge of the crowd, and Megan's eyes flicked over the scene. A young boy, no older than 8, lay sprawled on the ground, clutching his leg, tears streaming down his cheeks. His face was smeared with dirt and panic, and beside him stood an elderly woman, wringing her hands as she tried to comfort him. Megan felt a sharp pain in her chest at the sight. What happened? She asked, stepping closer, instinct kicking in. He fell off his bike, a man in the crowd answered, his voice strained. He thinks he might be broken it. Megan's breath hitched. She could see the boy's leg at an odd angle, and she had enough knowledge from her classes to know that wasn't a good sign. We need to keep him calm, Alia said, her voice low and steady as she approached the boy. Hey there, buddy, what's your name? Luke, he stuttered, fear evident in his wide eyes. Okay, Luke, we're here to help you, Alia assured, crouching down so she was eye level. You're going to be okay. Just breathe with me. Alia began to take deep, calming breaths, and Megan followed her lead, framing the experience with a sense of control. Megan knelt beside Alia, reaching out to touch Luke's arm gently. Luke, can you tell us what hurts? My leg, he whimpered, and tears pooled in his eyes. We're going to check it out, but I need you to stay still for me, okay? Alia instructed, her voice serene and nurturing. The boy nodded, clearly bolstered by the presence of compassionate strangers. Just then, the sound of sirens pierced through the murmuring crowd, each wail amplifying the urgency of the moment. Megan felt an odd tremor in her legs, the familiar surge of adrenaline. A part of her was afraid, but another part was alive with purpose. This was what they had come to do, wasn't it? Help where they could. Alia, Megan spoke, her eyes darting toward the gathered phone-wielding onlookers. Should we ask someone to call for an ambulance? No need, Alia said, briefly glancing at 2 paramedics weaving through the crowd, hurriedly heading toward them. She turned back to Luke. Help is on the way, but we've got you until they get here. Megan felt a warm swell of camaraderie with Alia, their shared determination creating a bubble of strength. They weren't just witnesses today, they were actively participating in someone's moment of need. Luke, do you have a favorite superhero? Megan inquired softly, hoping to distract him while they waited. Spider-Man, he said, his lip trembling but a faint smile trying to break through the tears. Awesome. Did you know Spider-Man is super brave? Why yeah. Just like you right now. Megan replied, her heart swelling with hope and admiration. As the paramedics arrived and took charge, Megan stepped back, her chest tightening with a mix of relief and unease. They were doing something good. Yet it struck her, what if they hadn't been there? What if she hadn't stepped up? Lost in thought, she barely heard Alia calling out, Megan. Come here. Twisting back, Megan was startled by the wild look in her friend's eyes. What is it? Alia pointed down the street, her expression shifting from concern to exhilaration. Look. There's a whole team over there helping another family. Every beat of Megan's heart quickened again. Was this their fate now? Was it really possible to make a difference in every moment that came their way? The call to intervention echoed within her, and she felt her resolve harden. Let us go. She shouted, nearly pulling Alia along as she dashed toward the next scene. What challenges awaited them? Each step felt like an awakening, a clearer path emerging in the chaos. Suddenly, a thought sparked in Megan's mind. If they kept encountering these emergencies, was that a sign of something greater? Or was it just random tragedy unfolding before them? Either way, she was ready for whatever came next. Megan and Alia surged toward the next crisis, the fresh adrenaline coursing through their veins as they approached the gathering crowd. This time, they spotted an elderly man slumped against a brick wall, his face pale and sweat-soaked. Megan felt an instant wave of concern wash over her. They had to act. Call for help. Alia shouted, glancing at a nearby woman who was already dialing her phone. Stay with him, Megan. Talk to him. Megan knelt beside the man, feeling her heart race. Sir, can you hear me? She asked gently, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. His dim eyes flickered open, revealing panic mixed with confusion. Can you tell me your name? She pressed, as fear skated up her spine. George, he murmured, his breath shallow. I can't breathe. Megan's heart sank. Okay, George. Just focus on me. Help is on the way, I promise. She kept her voice soothing, feeling a bond forming even amidst the severity of the moment. Just keep talking to me. What happened? A soft breeze carried the scent of distant flowers and nearby barbecues, contrasting with the urgency around them. Megan felt the weight of every second as she maintained eye contact with George, urging him to hold on. His grip slackened slightly but was still present, a connection that provided comfort to both. As murmurs from the crowd surged ever so slightly, people voicing their concerns, speculating. Megan felt something rise within. Who, or what, was she now? In just mere minutes, she had transformed from a girl dreaming of family and warmth to a young woman vowing to be an anchor for strangers in despair. Suddenly, the sharp wail of sirens sliced through the evening air, and Megan's chest swelled with relief. The paramedics rushed in, moving with an energy that made her believe they could conquer the world if given the chance. They quickly assessed George, and she stepped back, feeling a sense of completion, knowing she had done what she could. As the paramedics loaded George onto the stretcher and wheeled him to the awaiting ambulance, Megan's heart felt lighter. Her gaze met Alia's, and they shared a smile that conveyed everything they had just experienced together. That was amazing. Alia exclaimed, a fire lighting in her eyes. You were incredible, Megan. We stood up when it mattered. Megan felt a swell of warmth. But I couldn't have done it without you. You were right there every step of the way. They watched as the ambulance sped off, the sirens fading into the distance. It felt like closure but also the beginning of something monumental. Suddenly, across the street, a familiar figure caught Megan's eye, Henry. He was making his way toward them, a look of awe splashed across his face. What just happened? He asked breathlessly, taking in the scene with a mix of admiration and disbelief. Megan smiled, her heart leaping. We helped. We really helped today. As she shared the story of George and the others, she saw something shift in Henry's expression, wonder mixed with a fierce determination to be part of this new reality. You know, he said, excitement dancing in his voice, I've never felt so alive. What you guys did there was a purpose today. Megan's heart raced at the shared energy in their small circle. It's not just about the moments, she added. It's about the connections we make along the way. And we have to keep this going. We can't just stop here. Absolutely. Alia chimed in. We can create a movement. We can find people who need us and help them. Henry nodded quickly, the cogs in his mind whirling. Let us bring in others, people from our neighborhoods, our jobs. We can make a plan and involve everyone. This is just the beginning. As their ideas began to swell into a shared vision, Megan felt the room expand around them, possibilities overflowing in bright colors. Together, they could create change. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting warm hues across the city as Megan glanced around at her friends, at the world around her. It was like looking through a new lens, one filled with hope, adventure, and a wide-open heart. They turned their sights toward the horizon, ready for the next chapter that awaited them, surrounded by a city pulsing with stories yet to be told. A wave of laughter danced through the air as a breeze swirled around them, whispers of opportunity echoed through the evening light. Let us do this. Together, Megan said, hers a voice of quiet strength, and together they stepped forward, ready for anything. And viewers, if you felt even a flicker of inspiration from this story, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to this channel, don't wait not even one more second to share. Leave a like right now, it fuels our mission and keeps these transformative stories coming. Comment your thoughts and feelings about the ending below, I want to hear what this journey meant to you. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us keep the light of hope burning bright together.